It says we're live, so I'm going to go ahead. Hi, and welcome to the Sisters Interview. My name is Ashaxi. I'm a member of the Order of the Laurel in the Kingdom of Vontier, and this is my sister, Serifkin. She is a Knight, Pelican, and Lion of Vontier, and tonight our guest is Casca. Welcome.
Hi, thank you very much for having me here. I'm honored and grateful to be here.
We're super excited to have you. Can you start us off with your Sca Origin Story, please?
Oh gosh, yeah. I think I can get through this pretty quick. So I was like, and excuse me, I'm not trying to be negative. It's just all funny to me. I was the fat bass player in a heavy metal rap band, and and my friend comes to me and says, "Hey, my sister's here visiting with the Renaissance Festival. We should go." And so I got out some fringe moccasins and cut the fringe off and got some sweats. And then I got a t-shirt and cut a slit in it and put a little thong in it. And then he took me to a straight of war.
Wow.
Yeah, and his sister was in Corvus. And this was, gosh, somewhere around like 94, 95. And he took me there and I got to, gosh, what an experience I had. All these like great nights and beautiful ladies. And I got to escort a lady that was just way too beautiful for me around for the whole night, and then just like, I literally like crawled out of this tent the next day, like wiping the crust out of my face and like crawled to the front gate and said, "Where do I sign up for this?"
So it was totally love at first sight.
Oh, 100%.
That's awesome. What hooked you? Was it the fighting or was it just the whole atmosphere?
No, I think it goes a little deeper than that. I'm really not and I'm probably going to say this, I'm not really naturally competitive. And so really what hooked me is nice people were cool. And like the values that, I always got along with everybody, but, I got to this place where all of a sudden, like, being nice didn't leave me as a wallflower that all the girls and all the guys walked by. All of a sudden being nice was like cool. And how could I not identify with that and run to it screaming?
It's nice. It's great to be in a community where being kind is valued. That's awesome.
Which is why the game will never get old for me, because even when you've done all the things, it's still about people for me. And like, I just get excited about it. I mean, that's what you all have brought for me. I feel like I was in a corner a little where, I had been working a lot before the COVID come up, and like I was a little isolated. And all y'all's, between two peers and Orion and all y'all kind of brought me back into the game and inspired me. Like I had to go on this like campaign to get back on Facebook because it just felt so odd to me. And I didn't want those posts are out there, but like your all show really kind of brought me back into the game and made me realize, how much I miss everybody.
Awesome. So you started 94, 95.
Yeah.
About the same time we did. How long did it take you to find a mentor, to find somebody to kind of hold your hand and grow you in the SCA?
Oh gosh, I get chills thinking about it. I'm so lucky, all these questions go about. I got lucky and picked a man. His name is Sir Arthur Duke O'Flaherty, Laurel Pelican. Just, I picked somebody who always inspired me, and he wasn't always saying what I wanted to hear. But I mean, from the beginning, he never let me touch the ground without an education and a court shirt. And between him and his lady, I knew my graces. And I can't never do anything but be that man's friend. One day as a squire, he said, "You don't have to empty that bucket. It's his waste bucket in his tent. It's the only time I ever defy it." And I said, "I will empty that bucket because that's how I wanted to be a squire."
And he didn't want that level of service?
No, I just think he wanted me to want to do it for the right reasons. I don't think he wanted to sycophant. I don't even think he wanted it done. I don't think it ever occurred to him, but when he realized I was doing it for me, not for him, he let me do it.
That makes sense.
It's weird how you never stop wanting to do things for your mentors. Like I still want to do things all the time. Anyway.
Oh, I agree. Gosh, I would ramble. If I get onto my Pelican, Count Dennis of the Titans. I had a bad breakup, and all my friends showed up in trucks, and my mentor, Count Dennis of the Titans, walked me into his, God, I'm gonna get bally here, walked me into his house, took his shit out of his bedroom, and told me the house was his. Be a good boy, be a good tenant, pay my rent for for 2 years, and if I got my crap together and bought it, he would do everything he could to help me. And that was the birth of my gift of Monster Hall, and I'll be damned. So I had to write a bankruptcy letter, and it said, to whom it may concern, I, Matt Van Hook, thought I was going to be a rock star. I was wrong. And I somehow got the loan and got to buy that house.
Wow.
But that man saved me. I mean, I had nothing. My shit fit in milk crates. And he started me on a path that led to a place to offer shelter to my family when I met the beautiful girl with 3 kids. Look at me, I'm getting there already. I'm getting weepy. But it's just such a beautiful, like I'm just a puzzle of gifts. It's like I feel, let me stop there.
So you're a puzzle of gifts?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I've never heard that analogy before. I love it. Puzzle of gifts.
It choked me up.
Oh.
That helped a lot. Right down to the career I have here, Duke Sirith and Jax and a bunch of guys got together when I had got done taking care of my dad. It took like a 3-year journey taking care of my dad. My friends offered me a chance to get back into a career I had done for a long time. And now I'm again living another beautiful chapter of my life because of my friends in the SCA and because of the gifts I've been given.
Is that why you moved to the Outlands?
Partly. I think I was tired. I lived my whole life there. I'm a very roots person. And, like I said, I had taken the journey with my dad and I had reigned. And I think my gas tank was on 0. And this is my version of midlife crisis, I think, because I worked in factories my whole life. And I got to come out here and they got me as a part of this business we do out here. And now I get to, enjoy beautiful meals and we, work outside. And it just, I'll keep going. But it's just another beautiful gift because of this group we're in.
That's awesome. So you squired to Duke Arthur.
Yeah. And
how long were you his squire?
So this is going to sound super short. He didn't want to, he was a landed baron. And to this day, I will say that I feel like landed baron and baroness just, I wish there was more we could do for him. Like it should ring like Duchess and Duke and Duchess. But he was a landed baron. It's the hardest. After lick and stick quit being actual envelopes, baron and baroness is the hardest job in the game. And he was a landed baron when I met him. And I would come over. I would help in his armor shop, and he would feed me dinner, and I would listen to the half hour of telephone messages because the internet wasn't real. AOL took like a half hour to download 3 emails. And I just, gosh, I think I even rambled out of the original question, but I was just given so many great gifts, and he took me in like family, and I'm just always gonna owe him. I'm always gonna owe him.
So your path, we were talking about maybe how short it was, because I think you said you were squired in 94, and I think you got knighted in 98, right?
Yeah, so he didn't thank you. He didn't take me for like a year because he wanted to step down as landed baron. He had a lot of squires, all still great men. And so he wanted to wait for me. And so I got squired on the day he stepped down. And I think I'm around a 23-month squire, but I don't want it to sound like that because I feel like, I was good at fighting. I had good manners. And really what he was teaching me the lessons of the culture and how to fit in and how to believe into myself, And so like a lot of people, I was just, lucky. There I go again.
Did you come to fighting with an athletic background?
And other than being in the military, really my biggest thing, so I was the kid that read Conan books, and so none of the other kids in the neighborhood were allowed to play with me because you went into here's probably how my laurel roots. You go into my bedroom, you open the door, and here's like my little fake secret room. You pull and here's all my homemade weapons all over the wall. And so I was playing with swords in my backyard, and like none of the other kids were allowed to play with me. And yeah, and I still have some of that stuff in my shop, which is, I always show to people like, look, I've been playing this since I was 10. This is what I could. And I was really a big goon with no technique. So like literally they got me an armor with like this helmet that was so big it needed like helmet armholes in it. And I went into this tournament and I just remember everybody laughing and like armor pieces were flying out of the air. And I mean, somebody should have stopped me because I wasn't doing anything right. But it just seemed to be like somehow I did it with, I don't know, in hindsight, I did it with enough love that people just laughed through. And like, my first whatever kind of baronial tournament, like somehow I won the like booby award or whatever. And I remember trying to like get the board and I'm standing up holding on to the pole of the tent because I hurt my back so bad fighting so crappily. But I mean, I was always in love with fighting and it was just part of me, and it's the only time I allow myself to, be that person, I guess. I don't know.
So when you were on the path to knighthood, what did your training look like?
I was lucky, that's a great, so I got lucky. I feel like I started right at the peak of Aidenville. And so I went to Sundragon, and Sundragon was, my home was Sundragon. Born and raised there. I am what they built. A lot of my stories will go back to being a baronial champion and being raised there. But anyways, gosh, please help me with the thread again. I'm just a little silly here.
Hi.
My formative years of path to knighthood. Anyways, gosh. I still don't think I've caught back on my original thread. I'm getting a little emotional about everything. It's just like really hard of me. I'm having a good time.
Well, do you want to talk about the emotional stuff first and just get it out of the way?
No, that'll be me the whole way.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's just good because, I don't want to sound like a postcard, but like, I've always been me, right? Like even when I was a musician, I felt like I was pretty safe. People told me stuff like that, but I'm just going to rant about the gifts on and on again. I think we were on the thread of like my path to knighthood, right? That's what I remember us originally talking about. And so, the practice technique coming up. Thank you. And so I started when Aidenville was huge. So I went to Sundragon. It was a rapier barony. There was some good hard suit. Arthur had left his signature on the barony. And then I went to the first Aidenville practice I ever went to. And it's like the stories you hear where literally there were most of the wars in our own kingdom were smaller than Wednesday night fire practice. You'd see 50 to, I don't want to over exaggerate, but like 90 pairs of people fighting, and then boppers going on, and Shania was really big back then, and rapier going on, and so the whole park would be full of stuff. And even more interesting, I don't want to get too off on a tangent, but we got to literally see other organizations form across the park and come up and live and die. And so a lot of my views of the SCA are based off of what I feel like I observed those groups do to themselves, because they were all good and they tried to mingle, but it was just such a gift to see the genesis and be trained in that format. So really, my biggest gift as an initial fighter was because I was a musician. I did a lot of hand finishing for a living. So literally, I kind of would use a 4-inch grinder all day long in one hand and grind stuff. And so my really biggest attribute was like super, super wrist rate. And so they used to play nightly charades like, Dustin and, guys like, Rich when they were all squire, areas. Then they would do like, like Barney Rubble bowls with his two little feet together, and he goes, tinkle, 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 tinkle. And they used to do this thing where I would just run forward with all these shots because, you walk forward, you just assault people and hopefully something good happens. But I love that vision of me going forward, just on my little tippy toes, swinging like a knucklehead. I love that part of me,
How often were you practicing?
So Sundays at Sundragon all the time. I tried to make Wednesday as much as I could, and then my knight always had a practice at his house. It's one thing he passed on is his home was always open to people. And maybe it's a better story for armor time, but right, tell me that he had his armor shop open for people every night. every Wednesday night, once a week, and communities grow out of those kind of places. And so I got to practice at his house once a week. So I would say, at least 8, 9 times a week, a month. I was pretty dedicated. I loved it. The funny thing that really held me back, and maybe this is a good story for it. So one of the things that really held me back from knighthood, believe it or not, and I heard these stories in retrospect, is so I loved people so much that like I tried to have a ceremony before I started fighting. Like I tried to bow, and it was weird because I was trying to do a gladiator, my arm was all weird. And I finally decided in the beginning of my fights that every time I fought somebody for the first time, I would always salute their honor and their ladies. To this day, I still do that in practice. Even the first time I fight anybody, I will salute them and their consort. Pardon me for being generic because I don't really care about that. The role of the consort is way, way, way understated. So let me move forward to the story. So here I am, and I'm doing all this machine guns. Then I would like fight people and all. God, I think I hurt him, and I apologize. I try to get him off the ground. But what happens when you're a squire and that's a knight? And so I came across as arrogant. And the story that I heard was Sir William Flanagan getting up in a circle and just crying and telling him, don't get it. It's not him. It's not arrogance if he doesn't possess that, And then somehow they saw fit to pass me. I've done a lot of maturing since.
Perception's an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an interesting story. You when you got knighted, was it a surprise then?
Oh. Yeah, that's kind of hilarious. So Duke Valen, Rich, Arius, my bro, love him to death. So one of the things we always try to do is I try to distinguish what knightly service was. And to me, knightly service is with your hands. No matter how thug-like you are, you can carry baskets. You can help set up tents. That's to me was like I had to have like a definition of knightly service because I knew I was a little bit of service nut already at the time. And so we were literally like going around setting up tents and helping people out. And old Estrella, the battlefield was in the middle. And me and I don't know where me and Richie got up or somewhere. Like somebody, asked me to go wait here to help set up a tent. And then we got sidetracked finding another tent to set up. And then we got back there. And then I'm sitting there in the middle of all this going on. And all of a sudden I look around and realize there's knights coming out of between every road. And I'm like, oh, shoot, sorry to keep being my David at the time. I just love him so much. It's Rich to me. And I'm like, Rich, let's get out of the way. Let's go see what's happening. And we go and sit down because I was the only hard shooter, like serious hard shooter in the barony. So I had a lot of, I hope this doesn't sound arrogant. I had men at arms, but they were like baldricks for me to respect just because I was the guy who was there for them. So anyways, he was my man at arms and we're getting the heck out of the way. And all of a sudden I look up and I see Justin the Rock's face and like those eyes of Cain, the killer stones coming at me, and I'm like, oh no. And so all these knights are coming out of all the entrances and people are just coming up to me and here comes my knight who is king. And I really seriously, I'm getting choked up right now. I thought I messed up somewhere and hurt my mom. Turns out that wasn't it. So bam, they come and grab me. I'm off on vigil. And what a whirlwind, I mean, it was a time when people didn't honor the photographers that are around, and I had like one picture at the time. So I'm also doing a little plug for the people who want to take pictures. Please try to help them get up front, because I'm from a generation that had no pictures. Okay, I've lathered.
So you got knighted by your own knight, Arthur was king?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I think it was super hard for him. He's a man who believes that you can only fill your honor cup. And once you spill things out of it, it's hard to repair cracks in it. And I doubt it was done lightly. I doubt it was done without some persuasion. And I'll bet you to this day, there's parts of him who wish somebody else could have knighted me. I just that's my assumption. Those aren't his words.
Or maybe he's just really proud to have been able to be the one that knighted you.
That's probably true as well.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. I bet you. You know,
I think it's always super cool when the council really wants to knight the king's squire, and the council talks the king into doing it, even though it might have a look of nepotism. Everybody knows it's not, because the king like had to be talked into it. And I'm thinking that's probably what happened with you. So that's pretty cool. And so you got knighted at Estrella. You got put on vigil and knighted there too.
I joined in Estrella. I got knighted in Estrella. Comic book, right? Do you mind if I take you off on another side story, a squire story?
I would love a side story. Go for it.
Okay, so here I am as a squire, and we're sitting around this fire, you know, because we were doing like a super late guard shift. It's something that was called Mixed Weapons War in Sundragon, which is a war right after Estrella, and it was like one of those, we just all blew off war, just such a heavy service bearing. It was kind of our kind of party war. Like, there were war scenarios, but if you didn't show up, I don't think anybody cared. You probably didn't drink enough. Okay, goodness. And so we're sitting around a fire, and my knight instilled to me very early on in the SCA that as a knight, if you truly feel your chivalry, that if you have the ability to do something, then under chivalrous grounds, you therefore have a responsibility to do that. Did I make that clear? Was this? Okay, so we're sitting on it. We're sitting around this fire, and we're, you know, squires and lords and miladies, and you know, and they're all starting, and they were like, you know, talk about your dreams. And I said, wouldn't it be cool if you could sit the throne by your own right after you could sat all the circles by your own right? You know, like you're like a self-made man, you know what I mean? Because, you know, a sword arm gets you attention, but your peacetime skills are what makes you a hero over the long term. You know, I mean, it's also what makes the game fun when you're broken. Anyways, and so the funny thing is that's exactly how my career went, you know? I got my knighthood, and then just being myself and trying to be a good knight. I feel like that's how I got my pelican. I actually got my lime whip, you know, and just everything kind of unlearned like that. But I feel like I started on my laurel like almost immediately, and that was one of my longest struggles. You know, maybe 20-something years.
When I was looking at your OP entry, something that really stood out to me was that you were named a Lion of Atenville. I'm going to say named because it's not really given, it's acknowledged, right? Like right after you were knighted, like right after. And I just thought I was incredibly floored by that, because we have a Lion of Vontier too, and it's like a pillar. And I'm just like, oh my God, you know, who was this guy as a squire to be a lion, you know, a year after you got knighted? So, I mean, you must have been doing incredible things.
Yeah, you know, at the time it was like, I was the same way, like great people, like you had to be a 20-year player to get something like that. And it was one of those things where it was another one of those beautiful spurs. I spent a long time trying to come to terms with being that person, you know? And it's something that I still, you know, I don't know how to talk about it. I mean, I was honored. Somebody told me I saved it. Oh, I'm getting serious. Somebody told me I saved their dream, and that's how I got it.
That's a cool thing to be told. That is cool.
Super cool. So I understand that one of your big service geeks is being royal steward. That's one of the things that you excel at and really enjoy. Can you talk about that?
Yeah.
And what that is?
Absolutely. It's complex. So let me go all the way back to, you know, I was really, I have had such a beautiful career. You know, I got to play at the baronial level. My poor wife just got swept up on the freeway with me. We're hoping to play more here, but so I got the full baronial thing, you know. I mean, I was at Squire who realized, how is this guy winning these tournaments? Oh, bless you, sweetie. How is these guys winning these tournaments? I beat these guys up all the time, you know, besides, again, not being naturally competitive. And so I really got my stuff together and won baronial champion. And you had to do heraldry and take a written test on the SCA, and you had to do interviews, and you had to fight rapier and shinai and hard suit. And, you know, And I won that thing. And so there was this gentleman, Rotary Longshanks, okay? Beautiful, tall, colored gentleman, Elizabethan to the max, owning it. And so he, instead of becoming chatteling, which is kind of the female counterpart, he chose to be steward. And he's always set a great example for me and always had a lot of wonderful things that give me a lot of nice things to think about. And, you know, and I watched his example and the way he cared, and I was like, you know, Baronial Champion's about standing around with a sword. Maybe you should be more like the steward and also take care of stuff. And so anyways, it evolves through the year. The first real reign I worked on was as captain of the guard with Aaron and Alessandra. And, you know, it was really more about moving the thrones around and putting the tents up. And, you know, but the guards were having a hard time at the time. You know, Arizona for us and the economy was crashing. And so I felt like the captain of the guard was doing a great job, but I felt like somebody on the crown side needed to be the reverse contact point. So somehow this position as steward got developed, and really what it was about was, and if you've ever done the job, it was about getting their stuff out of the car and then back into the car the same way you got it out. I know it sounds a little hammy, but it's really important, you know. I mean, when you can't find your stuff, it's the worst. You know, as well as setting up the tents and doing all the stuff that obviously is easy for me. And it just kind of stuck, you know. I mean, reign after reign, I was asked to come do this thing. And really for me, in my little fantasy book, it means you're like the companion to the crowns. And it's like, so they're in their apartments, they got their armor off, they got no weapons on them, they're being themselves. And I was the guy as steward in my little fantasy book that gets to walk in those apartments fully armed because I'm just too fucking busy. Woo! I'm just too busy. You know, so in my little fantasy book, the steward is the guy who gets to go in there armed in front of the king at his leisure and do business and take care of stuff. And it's just such a beautiful experience that you get to be involved and be there and be backstage. And I would get bored, you know, just like hanging out. Like I love to talk fighting for a little while, but you know, after a while, I wanted to go do something and be involved. So it evolved with this thing, and then reign after reign, and then sometimes I would get off one and do another, and you know, I was like keeper to Strata, Regalia, and then also running a reign during that. And you know, it's just beautiful. It seems like it would be this adventure, but you know, I just gotta feel like I was just like being myself, hanging out with my friends, you know, and I feel like, you know, that one of the funny things out of being steward for so many reigns is like, especially when I finally got my turn, it's like, who could know more about me? King of me, I don't see everything. Wrong. Anyways, we can move on from there. And so, you know, and it was just really an honor to hang out with so many of my friends. I mean, you see all those cycles and sigils, but it was just Matt hanging out with whoever was reigning, you know? You know, and then this is the sword I got as Baronial Champion, and I've carried it ever since. And I don't know how cool of a sword or how real of a sword is, but it has guarded kings and queens and baronesses and barons and my lords and ladies. And I once had a druid, True Thomas, blessed it balance for me. And what a terrible thing to wish for. Balance. Okay, story's over. Thank you.
It sounds like your baronial champion is a lot like our oh, of course I'm blanking on the word now.
Sergeant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought when he said there was a test and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what a cool thing though, right? I mean, they made sure I could emblazon before I was in diapers. They made me dance, you know, all the good stuff. You're like, I could play bass in a heavy metal rap band in front of people, watch these pits go off. I was cool. Tell me to dance. I'm like, I'm not holding an instrument. Like, all of a sudden I'm standing on this glass pillar in the middle of hot lava, but we got through it, you know. But my knight was the kind of guy who did it with me, you know, every step of the way. He led by example. Really.
So is that something that you would encourage your squires or students to do? It sounds like it really shaped who you were in the SCA.
You know, I think all that is important. You know, one of the gifts I got from Sean to help me understand this is Grace Sean. It's like one thing I really have always tried to focus on and help me see this in myself is I've always been lucky enough to just want to let people be themselves and kind of develop their own thing, you know. I appreciate being around people who don't agree with me, you know. And so I've always tried to let them pick their own dream. And so I've always tried to, you know, and this is a hard thing. It's on the banner that was painted for me is lead by example. And I feel like you just hold a hand grenade and put it in your underwear when you say something like that. But you know, so with the way I've tried to be tonight is to just try to go do the things and be the things. But problem, my shortcoming is that I get so busy. You know, the price of all the things we do, right? Is you know, we walk by our friends at war serving. You know, I remember all I wanted to do at Australia was fight with Sean. You know, I get my kidney to be around him. You know, and it's just like my duties were first. And you know, when you do so many things, sometimes you got to pick what you're focusing on. You know, it's like you almost got to kind of half suck at everything because you're trying to do everything.
I know that you won Crown and I'm skipping a whole bunch of stuff, but because you mentioned Sean, I'm going to mention your Crown win. You won Crown in like 2016, 2015.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And you know, that's a pretty long gap from when you got knighted. Was there a point where you said, you know what, I need to focus on getting that part of it done and not do so much service? Was that part of what you went to Sean for, or?
You know, I was lucky enough, you know, maybe at some point we'll get to the ladies who hold my friendship favor, which have always been a huge catalyst for me. Manego hooked me up with Sean, you know, because nobody found more ways to lose Crown than me, you know.
I have. No, I'm joking.
First, I just tried real hard, and then I changed my gear: bigger sword, longer sword, smaller shield, bigger shield, and then I was mad for a while because people were wrangling me, and then I hated myself because I wasn't good enough, and then I just really, somebody sat me down and said, actually, he didn't sit me down, Sean fixed me over the internet. I mean, can you imagine that? Because I'm really not competitive. Like, I'm not out there to fight other people at Crown. I'm out there to fight myself, you know? And Sean fixed me with emails. He'd ask me questions and we'd write back and forth. And, you know, he revealed to me that I'm competing against myself. And yeah, I did have to focus for a while, but really in the end, I mean, this is, oh my God. I wanted to be it because of the hero I wanted to be, right? I finally got my laurel, right? It was fine, you know? And, oh my God. I don't know how this is going to sound. I'm getting a little like this right now. I wanted to be king, but I wanted like beautiful clothes for my girl. You know, she spent so much time being a mother and working so hard, and like I was raised without a lot, you know, input, so my wife was a hero. And she spent so much time helping and working and raising kids and being who she was. I mean, that was just part of my dream. I was like, my beautiful girl's gonna look beautiful to everybody else too, you know, and it was part of the dream. And you know, the Elizabethan sweatshop and a lot of people really came together to help it happen. It was just, it was beautiful for me, you know.
Now you're making me cry.
Oh, me too. Sorry.
So,
No.
so I don't. I mean, this is the first time I think I've ever laid eyes on you. But when you won Crown, it was like this big deal, like even in Ontario, because everybody just thought you were the guy that should be king, and that you were just so wonderful. And I'm just like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? So how was it to finally reign and not be on the backside?
Oh gosh. You know, I wish you could see the picture of me. So here's me, I'm at the heaviest point in my life, you know, with stresses and everything. You know, being heavy is an inner struggle, right? And so here I am at that moment. Here's what's funny for me, because life is like funny. I feel like I'm Forrest Gumping a lot of these. If you sit me down with a little buzz, I would tell my story that way. You know, because gosh, I've got to be around deep, just the crucibles. Oh gosh. you know, I finally got there, you know, and I'm raised the crown over your head. You're in that moment. Oh, you know, and the next day I see the picture and I swear to God, please let this be funny because it's funny to me. I look like thunder trying to get Kurt Russell off my back because I'm at altitude. I'm blowing out all, you know, and it was a right, and it was just one of those reflective moments. Like no matter where you go, there you are, right? And, you know, I get in that moment, and you know, and I remember. I remember the hugs and the love, and I felt like I had finally done something that was like, you know, it still doesn't, you know, and I don't want to belittle anything, but like being a knight was like something like from my real mundane name, named by my father, was Matthew Knight. So it was like that was part of me, you know, and so that was like me, you know, finally becoming something I needed to be, you know, instead of a welder or a fabricator. Anyways, you know, so you get in that moment and you know, you put the crown on your head and you get into it and the meetings start and then you start getting, you know, one thing you thought you were going to do and one thing you thought you were going to be, and then the reality sets in. And then you realize how incredible the service that crowns do, how much they give of themselves. If you could like think that person's an asshole, but I'll bet you they're being torn apart by what they're doing. You know, there's no light decisions.
It's a hard job.
Yeah, you know, and I nobody has it harder than anybody. We kind of ran right at the beginning of holding politics and stuff, and so it's like to me, like being crowned, you know, like the serious part is kind of like eavesdropping, right? Both people lose. You know, you see things you don't want to see, and you know they get seen when they don't want to be seen. But you know, some of the greatest moments that happened to me were like, so like crown list is like the moment for me, and this is my dream alone, so please, I don't want to put any words in anybody's mouth, but like, here you are, your crown, right? And crown list is the one moment in the universe that you can make fair, right? Right? I mean, the world is not equal. But as crowns, me and my wife made a decision that we were gonna make crown fair. And other crowns have done it before, so even though the Erics are split up and there's an X in the middle of the Eric, and the only people who are truly allowed in there are the crowns. And so, you know, we spent our time watching our crown from the middle, and I think it was the most nervous time in my reign. And so can we tell something really funny about that moment? So here I am, God, I mean, I just want things to be fair. And I turn around and I look over and a fight goes on in front of me. And I'm like, what did I just see? And this is what they tell me happened. Now in my brain, all I looked over and I was like, what did I just see? And so, gosh, Cal Merritt tells a story so good. It makes me laugh and blush and cry. It's freaking hilarious. So here's what evidently happened. Some dude who looked just like me screamed, "What the did I just see?" That's what they say. I don't know. I wasn't a witness. And so luckily for me, the Eric ropes were too tall to get over. I'm like, how do I dignify get over these ropes? Okay, that ain't happening. I'm gonna walk around. And so luckily, you know, I had time to like walk around the Eric and calm down and try to be more myself. But you know, it was more of a thing to like how nervous I was because, you know, I want to go back to that real point. I mean, that's the beautiful thing. My number one duty as king was to make sure that freaking one moment in our universe could be as fair as I could make it humanly, right? Because I mean, I'm sure I did some things that people didn't enjoy that day. Me and my wife did what we did together, and I was honored to have stood over her. I'll leave it at that. Let's see. You know, and being crowned was wonderful for me. It was one of the more harder things I've done. And to be honest with you, it just gives me more and more respect for the people that can do it again, you know, because I'm really summoning the courage that I could consider a person to go again. You know, in this beautiful kingdom that treats me like some kind of saint, you know what I mean, who gets to move and just be a hero. Like I got to be a hero in one book, and it's like somebody opened another book and just shoved me in there like I was cool the whole time. And I mean, Again, Christmas, I'm lucky. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
So what was your very favorite thing about being crowned?
So I got to do something I wished for as a squire. Sir William Flanagan's Baroness, when he was Baron of Aidenville, was Dasha. And this was the most graceful lady I had ever met. She never failed to be nice, never failed to feed people. You know, just one of the living saint. And I don't know, you know, you think it in the front of your head, but I was like, I mean, as a squire, if I ever become king, that's my line. And I got to do that. You know, I got to make, you know, again, another stroke. You know, another incredible female part of my life, because I just got to look at her and say, I want to be more like you. And here's the way I can say how the loudest. Another thing that was cool that me and my wife did, you know, a lot of people had input on this. So I don't want to, again, act like I was just this book. I had the greatest idea ever. There's a Rets tournament every year in Aidenville. And it's for a special girl, you know. And she had a hard time in the world. And a lot of people got together and they said, hey, what can you do for this beautiful girl? And Sir Nud, you know, my partner in the armor shop, River, we got together, and my wife and a few other people, and you know, I mean, what girl doesn't want to be a princess? And so we made a court barony for her, and we made it out of stainless steel, and we covered all the edges with leather so it was soft. And we got to bring this little girl up, and make her a court barony. You know, it was special because she has a hard life, and she gets to be a princess forever, as long as it lasts. And that was big for me. How could you not? How could you not? I mean, how could we not cry? That's why this fucking game is beautiful. Great. Who the fuck in the Dark Club gets this? I've been drinking now. Who the fuck in the Dark Club gets this shit?
Nobody.
You know, our club is in no danger. Of course you worry about a lover when you don't see them, but we can't fail to love each other. As soon as we get a chance to, it's on.
I'm trying real hard here. I think everybody watching is crying.
That was me bragging, by the way. I think that's me bragging.
Well, I don't think it's you bragging. I think you're very, very interesting in that you have these very, very high standards for yourself, and you're which makes you who you are, definitely. But you don't see the magic that I think everybody who's watching this can see. So anyway, do we want to talk about art? Can we talk about how you found armoring and how you fell in love with it?
Yeah, you know, I think it's a bit of a cop-out, right? You know, so the first thing when we're attracted to arts and worldom, you know, we think of craft, right? We make stuff. And I always had to make stuff, right? I was a little kid who played with Legos, you know, and the Legos had to fit Star Wars figures because I didn't have Star Wars figures, you know, because I was like a little kid running around picking trash for toys, and because my dad was like a go get your own shit kind of guy. And, you know, and so art is just, I always drew, and, you know, a friend of mine came over and I got to break out my like old like robot drawings and stuff from a kid, and you know, got me inspired to draw again. But you know, so I've always been artist. You know, it's just always been part of me. And so like right away, I've been a metal worker my entire career. That's why, like, to me, being you know, being on Laurel for metalworking is a bit of cheating in the first sense of craft. But craft is only the gateway to Laureldom, right? Because we're going to learn so many crafts and so many skills. And I watched so many of my friends have their hearts broken thinking that lauraldom is just about craft. And what I fell in love with on the way was history, you know? And, you know, and that's that unsaid component, you know? It's like, to me, like the perfect laurel flat snap is when you can tell a story that makes somebody go, let's say figuratively, get a book or look at a video or go back and watch that movie that inspired them the first time to get in the SCA. But you know, it's really about those people who just leak history all over the place. And it's just like my world of version of lauraldom, right? Because everybody's version needs to be there, just like the Night Circle, just like the Pelican Circle, for us to be complete. So it's like, this is just my little chapter, you know? And so art always drew me. And so I made armor for a long time. And so here was my, you know, like this is all hindsight. You know, I was always form over funk, or, you know, it always had to work right. So I basically, in the epitome of what they would consider a sports armor, because I grew up with Illusion Armory and Royal Shiny and Buffy. And, you know, it's funny, they always make fun of me, especially here in the Outlands when people come to my shop to get, you know, the shiny herbies. But, you know, so I always worked in stuff I was good at. You know, I had an edge over a lot of people. I mean, when I was a musician, you know, one of the jobs that didn't want to worry about my personal life was being a hand finisher. So I got a leg up on everybody. I was a stainless finisher for years. And so I made a lot of stuff, you know, and I all meant it. You know, and the funny thing is I don't have crap for pictures because I think I gave it away. I mean, we only ever sold armor to help people or enhance the shop, you know. And, you know, and so I started writing book reports and I wrote some thesis. So I'm like, and I was so nervous. Like I wrote this big old paper on gladiators. I got all these books and dog ears and underwriting. I saved the handwritten copy. I saved the proofread copy. I hand drew all the sketches for the gladiators. I was like, there's no way anybody's going to believe that I wrote this. And so I put that in, and you know, and you do your best to teach it, but really I think in the end all I did was stand up in front of the class and teach my own essay with all the little side notes you couldn't get in there. And that was cool. And, you know, started getting into medieval technology, but somewhere in there I learned that bug, you know. I can't wait till I can afford this expensive ass $1,500 book from, you know, the United Arab Emirates. It's on horse-powered technology. It's just, I think I want a new computer worse. I'm not sure.
I love that you call it a book report.
Yeah, it's good though, but it's the same technique, you know, when you're trying to teach history, because, you know, I don't know if it wasn't as common or such, but I just felt like a goon needed to prove he was smart. You know, everybody can bang metal, everybody can write armor, and in the end, I realized I needed to wait those 20-something years because my approach was history, and here's my challenge to any knights who want to be laurels. What could be more chivalrous? I'm looking right in the camera. What could be more chivalrous than defending history? We started in Golden May, and each new wave of history gets us excited about more stuff. Vikings. Gosh, remember when everybody was wearing leans? All these little things that bring us forward with the lady sewing are why we get to play. And if that isn't good enough, it's interesting and it will make you better. A famous man said, when you get good at one thing, go find something completely opposite and get good at that. That's how you stay balanced. You know, but, you know, and I talked about, so I've seen about time, you know, when I talk to people at the park, I'm not the guy going like, hey, you know, the fighters already know what they want to do. I'm trying to talk to the families about how they're going to have fun. You know, I met my wife and raised my kids there and how it's okay. And then if I get even more extreme, I try to talk about, unfortunately, how I lost friends when I was raising kids because they couldn't change over to that new example. Please go ahead. I think I cut you off.
Oh, that's okay. I just, I wanted to kind of hammer home the book report part because I think that there's a misconception out there that in order to be a laurel, you have to have a PhD and you have to be able to write, you know, like an academic. And I don't have a college degree. You know, and it's like writing a book report. You have to kind of be able to read primary sources and then synthesize them and put them back out. And you don't have to even write it now. You can do it verbally. You know, there are all kinds of ways around any kind of learning disabilities or, anyway, that's a thing that I have. And I just love the term book report because it takes it down and it distills it into something that feels simple for people.
You know, right, when we're historians, we're just really, you know, reflecting on the history that we enjoy. But I agree with you. I mean, right, like just like knighthood and pelicandom and everything, there is kind of like, right, like everybody wants to see like, oh, you got to check all these boxes. But the fact is you put weight in different categories till you tip the scale over in every single peerage. Yeah. And everybody has their own attributes. It's not standardized. There's no like, you know, we had a knight who was always like, his hair is not long enough, close the order. I'm like,
that's one of the things that I talk to my students about is you know, I can't make you appear, but I can walk your path with you, and everybody has a different path, and your path is unique, and it'll be an adventure that the two of us get to go on together. So do you want to look at some of the pictures that we have?
I think that'll be hilarious.
Okay.
See how Forrest Gumpy we can get. Show the fun stuff too, please.
Oh, Sir Rifkin, I am disabled on screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me fix that.
To test that.
God, y'all do so much. The technology y'all move around is amazing. I mean, I'm a pretty high-tech nerd. Y'all are doing some cool stuff.
That work for you?
Let me see. We're learning as we go, honestly. Yeah. Oh, and all right. Sorry. It's going to go ahead and talk about something. It's going to take me a second to pull it up.
Let's see. Hey, I got a cool thing. You know, so one of the things that made me like kind of cool as armor or able as armor is again taking my knight's tradition of having my shop out. So imagine being an armorer who instead of just was turning out stuff. I have seen so many honest attempts to armor in so many different ways, in so many ways. And it's like I've been taught as much stuff as, you know, I've taught. It's just, you know, it's just such an amazing thing. You know, something I have a hard time doing with mundanity, you know, being what it is. Oh gosh.
I see a pretty Minako in that picture.
Yeah, my wife was getting Republican that day. You know what? I mean, the sort of thing for Aiden Belt is always going to be something amazing. It always weighs 500 tons to me, especially. And honestly, it was on my back with my head down because I was crying. There was probably snot coming out of my nose, and you know, Coptics don't normally have a trail in the middle as well. But yeah, there's a lot of love going on today. Look at Alma. Look at how happy people were to recognize that lady right there. And then she did a vigil by having a taco bar, and then you wait in line, and then when you came up, she made you tacos, and then you had your vigil advice with her as a pelican, and then you went off with tacos in your ear.
Oh my God, I love that.
I'm a lucky man. Let's move.
I love that.
Oh, it's the coolest.
That's the best.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a picture of me actually in my helmet. So then that's my sport technique again. So that's kind of a, you know, it's a Praetorian Guard helmet, but I didn't want anything on the front of it. Why? Because I mean, why are you going to put something that stops a sword? You know, and I'm really a take-light guy, but in the same sense, it was part of my confidence to have a pretty smooth helmet.
Oh,
And then,
okay.
Go ahead.
No. You finished with the helmet. After the helmet, though, I want to talk about the fanciness of the belt and the greaves and the knees.
Oh, that's funny. And then the other funny thing, you'll see my shield and you'll see my sword. So one of the things I've always served in my community is I was the guy that all the knights could point to and say, look, not that sword, too long. And you see that shield? He's a nice guy. It's a little chivalrous. We put up with it. That was me. Go ahead.
I just, is that pierce work on the knees? Like, is that just?
So I learned how to do, so one of the things I've been trying to develop for a long time, and it's one of those sidetracks you have as a laurel where it started being more about teaching, and I think I need to bring it back around a little more history, is I try to teach like I don't know if represent is the right word, but representing chasing loosely, but my teaching usually involves how to make tools. And so most of that work is really just as simplified as you cut out a shape, and then you kind of, you dome some stuff out, and then you cut some stuff back. So it's kind of my earliest form of represent, which I kind of call stump represent, which again, I don't know how period it is, but it really lets people start with, we take pieces of stainless steel bar stock off the shop floor, and I show them how to make tools that are copies of other people's tools. And, and it's like they can go home and screw a piece of brass into a stump and start making stuff in the first day, So that's all really my basic beginnings, and those greaves that I'm wearing there are actually, and we have a little fun about those. It's like Mark II, so I'm wearing some of the oldest, crappiest greaves we make, which are still pretty good.
Yeah, they look old and crappy completely.
And then on my middle of my belt is my lady's favor. My lady's arms are a Medusa. And I feel like, and this is hard for me because I have a lot of things I love, but I feel like the only thing that should be on a knightly belt, your symbol of purity, is your lady's favor. And so I have that on my armor. And then when I wear my belt, it is for my lady.
Oh, that's super cool.
And so that's why I have like a Medusa there. But again, that's been redone a couple times. Oh, now this is important. All right. Now we all, there's a lot of people in there. This is a happy story, right? So in a lot of ways, for whatever reason, I've always been very comfortable with being friends with a lady, and to the best of my honor. So they're like floating souls to me. I'm not sitting there going, but if we were on a backpacking trip, and so I've learned the value of friends and ladies. And so I didn't have a girl for a long time. And so some of these ladies, all of these ladies you see in this picture, blessed me with their friendship favors, which means I always had eyes watching me, but it meant more than that to me because, again, the female influence is just so important. I mean, who doesn't want to hang out with Scarlett Johansson? Right? Badass, beautiful woman, smart, witty, trying to fix you up with people, right? And so these ladies are all favored ladies who hold my friendship favor. And, and so they've guided me through a lot of years and a lot of hard parts, but it was like I always had somebody, to give me a hug when I got rejected by another girl or needed help with a feminine point of view. But these ladies are my heroes. So in Ain't Belt, we take the throne. They take the throne there. And so I took the throne with the ladies who bear my favor. And I would not have taken that throne had they not approved of me. And I asked them on the spot, and I begged and I promised that any one of these ladies who was disappointed in me would have spoken up in the moment. And so that was one of the big things for me, is stepping up with these ladies, and I'm collecting more heroes. It's just something I love. We got a lot of great dudes around, but man, I love me some female heroes, and they're all my, Scarlett Johanssons, and, and they're all beautiful, incredible, floating souls. And it's so important to me. I mean, I just want the favor to be more important. I mean, when's the last time you saw a lady grab a favor off a guy in the middle of a tournament?
Yeah, my husband's been asking me for a favor for forever, and I've never given him one.
Really?
Yeah.
But if he did something bad on the field, I doubt you'd embarrass him in the moment. But I got a feeling just looking at your face and your composure and your wonderful smile, and I have a feeling that dude would be in some fucking trouble. As it should be. People are like, how do you police yourself? Well, there's a lot of little hidden stuff that goes on because it's beautiful and it works. So anyways, soapbox.
People ask you how you police yourself. I think policing yourself is the easy thing.
Oh gosh, nobody beats up on me like me.
Okay, I'm just like, yeah, all right. But yes, Shaxi and I are both fans of awesome women, so that is amazing.
Love that. So Mineko, I think, sent me this. I'm not sure why. Maybe you know.
Did you make her stuff?
I could, yeah. So, you get to that point where, you've done certain things in the SCA too much, and and you're not always good at realizing you've been eating the same thing off of the buffet again and again, so you were sick of it. Taking care of my, not only the but it's the truth. Like taking care of my dad was in there, and I was disconnected. I mean, I had been cloistered so much, we're going to like family barbecues, like well, I needed a truck pulled over, because I had been in hospitals and, and things were hard for me. And then somebody came along and listened to my stories, was interested in me and what I did mattered again. And somehow, it's again that kind of bond, and it's important to me. All of those ladies, have picked me up at one time or the other, but I don't know, maybe it's there because she walked out on the field fully dressed and evolved because she treated me with respect when I needed it. I was a little broke.
Somebody wants you to tell the purple clothing story. Does that segue into what we're looking at?
Yeah, there's Jack's my hero. Like for a long time, it's funny we live in the same state because I was the Arizona Gladiator, he was like, the Mexico Gladiator, and we've gone back and forth so many times beating on each other. So yeah, so nerd me. I refused to wear purple until I was king because of what it means in my persona. And so we did purple guard tunics, but I love Doom, right? And so the mark of the Fedi Kin and Doom, which was the Quizard Haverak's personal guard, was the 2 red handprints on the shoulder, right? The De Loretta's films. And then so my arms also are subsequently 2 red handprints. And so Valora, and the household, they got together and all my guard got together and they made these tunics and we got to do this ceremony where I put my hands in paint, just like in the De Loretta's film, and put my handprints on those shirts. And, I kind of wish I had one, but they're just, what a tribute, right? I mean, how could you, little cartoon magic. Love.
That's cool.
Oh, it makes me smile.
Oh, here they are.
There we are. Look at all that love right there. Look at all those beautiful people taking care of me.
There's so much badass in one picture there.
You're telling me. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's that ceremony. And again, see the people taking pictures. It's one of the things I always try to do as crowd or as steward and stuff is, gosh, I'll do any, unless the crowd tells me they don't dig it, I always do everything I can to get those people as close as I can without wrecking them. But thank you for the pictures.
I actually think that one of our recent kings and queens actually made an award for people that take pictures.
Okay, so do you see the heavy metal bass player here? So here I am as a squire with my sun dragon favor on and my belt, my squire's belt, right? Because now as a knight, I don't put anything on my belt, but my belt was covered with my friendship favors and my knight's household favor. And, again, and a few of the ladies don't play anymore, but I mean, I have every single one of those favors. It's just the belt moved on. And it's just, they stay in a favor bag and, it's like my little juju bag, but that's me. With the Shield of Chivalry, and I had fought this tournament, and I got called up, and there was something very stern about what was going on, and it was funny in the end. So my original arms is just like a white shield with 2 red handprints, drugged down. I did it in like 3 colors of paint, and I splashed different paint all over it, so it was just bloody handprints. You know why my arms are that? You got to ask it for the crowd. Anyways, because I couldn't figure out how to do the face, right? Because all I could do was run into people. So I wanted it to be people hitting it and sliding down. But since nobody would be willing to put their face in paint to do it, it became the bloody handprints. Anyway, so Queen called me up, and, and in the funniest way possible, she gave me the Shield of Chivalry and kind of told me to clean up my arms a little bit, and I thanked her for it because it wasn't quite. Look at this family. So, of course, I had no effing idea this was going on. This is an honest smile from me and my girl. And then later you get the picture back and this is what is going on, because I really think if you see the wider view, I think there's a whole lot of people back there. All photobombing us. All love.
I love her Wonder Woman. That's great.
That's my girl. Okay. Oh. You know, this is a cool subject. I love this picture. You know, and this is one of those questions I'd like to put out on the chivalry page anyways. But if you know, like I've been up here for a while. And one of the great things for me is I'm still running into people who make me, in the most honorable way possible, want to give back like my stuff and be their squire. You know, and Duke Arton, Bela Cost for sure. Duke Spider's been huge in my development. There's just, you know, I keep running into these people. It's like, God, I just want to start over and walk the path with you too. You know, nothing wrong with my other path. I mean, you know how I feel about my knight, but these are incredible people. So Bela's one of those people, my king, that I would dump his poop bucket. I would put on a red belt for him.
I have people I would do that for too, in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and there was laurels and pelicans and old and young, and there's a lot of people on that list, but God, I love this man. You know, and then, you know.
I think.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that something that's super cool about the SCA and about the community we have in the SCA is that you don't have to give back your belt and put on a red belt to get mentored by them. Like they'll mentor you anyway. Yeah. And the thing that a lot of people don't understand is that peers need mentors too.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
so totally true. So did you make these greaves that we're looking at?
Yeah, you know, it's one of the things, right? So way back when I was squire, you know, I wanted to do Roman, which was interesting, right? So mid-90s Aiden belt, you know, being something non-European central, right? So all the California guys were Romans, and what did I want to be? You know, I mean, I'm Van Hook. I was like, I don't know if wooden shoes are going to work for me. You know, although I think I look great in them now. You know, so I centered on Roman because I felt like in the Roman Republic, you know, there was a lot of equal rights and females could have power. So it was interesting to me, so I dove into it. But anyways, in my quest for sport armor, you know, things that look good but function, about, you know, like function first, and then right, you start making history happen on them. That's a crappy way to say that as a moral. And so these greaves are something that a lot of people have had hands on. And so we made those, and really my favorite thing to do is make them, give them away. You know, I mean, so Zipser, his Highness Zipser and I got together because that was his night, and we made some bone Duke greaves, you know, and we together made every part of that in you know, my crappy ass stump reposé. And but just everything comes out fun and easy, and then, you know, and like as king. So here, and I think that's us as crowns together. Like I got to serve next to one of my biggest heroes, and so we went to an event here, and I think I was like a little freaking college girl. I was like, hey, my wife kept having to hold me back, and like I just wanted to give them to him the second I got on site. Like, oh, and you know, and so finally we got to the middle of the day, and I finally gave them to him. But you know, a lot of those, you know, like I said, like giving away armor is just always right, because you take a journey when you make armor with people, but you know, to make something like that beautiful and give it to somebody and then have them say something cool like, great, now I got to fix my whole kit butthole. And that's me trying to learn how to fight with a blade. It didn't work out well. Oh, thank you for this picture. Wow. Look at those men. So that's my history. You know, besides my great knight, you're seeing the Crusadines there, and they're some of the greatest players in a variety of people, you know, from the 70s, 80s, you know, and then, you know, like I idolize these men. One day I got asked to walk up amongst them, and, you know, that's right there front and center. That's my Dennis of the Titans. You know, that's the friend that jumped down, you know, like, you know, there was, you know, I was in a bad spot in my life. And just like the corporate saying, when all the people are like wishing you well, walking by the hole, he freaking jumped in it with me. He helped me fix a broken body. You know, he helped me, you know, get a home that helped me raise a family. You know, we got Duke Deaton of Claymore back there. We got Baldo the Barbarian. Gosh, there's just so many. And so it's like a order of knights dedicated to the service of the king, you know, without anybody being slighted. Like, you know, you kind of want to, once you're that order, you want to be a pelican too, because it's like I serve the crown that hard. It's just like I get a little teary. There's some, I mean, look at those faces. There's some people that I love so much.
Is this an actual order? They're all wearing the white and the red.
Right. It's an unofficial order of very, very old. I mean, it goes back to Jonathan Whitewolf Sr. and some of the greats that I just barely got to meet when I was coming in. And essentially, again, it was a household where, as a knight, and you had to be a knight to be a full member. You know, a lot of stories that, and it is not exclusionary. It's like a cool thing to earn, you know. And you know, and you kind of got asked to, you know, be a servant to the crown, and you know, you're going to see, you know, they were with me, you know, and it just was a beautiful thing. Again, it's another excuse to hang out with the crown, right? And just hang out and get to be where the action happens and the drama happens and the real feels occur. You know, none of those, you know, I mean, God, I have as much fun in the parking lot as I do in the king's room in the hall and everything. I'm terrible for hanging out in parking lots, but God, I just love those men there, and I'm so grateful to all of them. I just thank you. Oh my. Well, besides that great king and duke and the other, with Ivan and Morgan standing there, so that's the moral cloak I got, right? You know, and one of the beautiful things for me is, you know, so much doubt is generated when you try for something so hard, you know, and like Raven and this lady, and you know, and like all of a sudden all these people were just like with nothing in it for them, were calling me out of the blue and trying to do stuff for me, and you know, just, you know, I mean, oh, I'm gonna be so mundane, and then they go and they, you know, and so many people got together to make that cloak for me. It's like, and they get mad at me because it's like I'm afraid to wear it. But it's maybe one of the most beautiful things I own. I mean, who doesn't want to walk around with a couple of bloody handprints like there's some weird masochistic tyranny? Right? Just me? Okay. Oh, that's my boy. Yeah, that's just me making a Corinthian. You know, again, I grew up with, you know, my big movie was, of course, was Excalibur. You know, I kind of watched it in prep tonight. He doesn't want to, you know, that's my son and the Corinthian I made for him, and you know, just, you know, I got to raise my kids, and he went from like being Harry Potter with glasses and a little scar running around with all little girls to, you know, being a strong, proud young man, and you know, and then also there's my helmet.
It's so amazing to watch your kids grow into strong young people.
I love it. You know, my name is Matt. Call me Matt. Well, there's a good look at my first armor, right? So I tried to be a gladiator from right away, and my persona is a Vermilionist gladiator, which kind of should be fish scale and stuff. You know, I wasn't that good at the time, but you know, there's some of my very, very early greaves, and you know, there's me, very heavy metal musician looking with my little, I don't know, I think I spilled soup on my face, and I have what I call a thrash mullet, right? Because I tried to put the Faith No More stripes in my hair, but I couldn't pull it off myself, so then I just shaved it because I messed it up, and somehow I wore that hair for like 10 years. But that's pretty much, you know, baby night, long hair me, Master Sylvanus in the background, so I'm standing around with a bunch of, you know, like old school Aiden belt guys. Yeah, that's kind of my early armor. Oh, there's me with the Praetorian crest. See how big the shield is? See how long the sword is? You know, that's me. Right. We don't let people step down without what they need. And so me and some friends got together and took care of a friend. So again, something kind of basic. You could see I was struggling with my chisel work. I realized later I need glasses, but you know, it's a very early coronet given to somebody I cared about, made with help, you know, with a whole bunch of homemade stamps that mostly worked.
Oh, there's another shot of it.
Yeah, even the triangle punch was homemade. There's my man. There's my man. You know, I mean, I look all cool standing there. See, I'm probably standing on a hill because he's always like 5 feet taller than me. Wearing the coronet he made for me, he honored me and my lady with our counties, and you know, we try to do something real Roman, but really it's very egotistical on the front. It's just like, you know, it's all like peerages, and you know, I think it's my Valora flag in a lot of ways. Yes, I have a Valora flag. I'm cool. Okay. So here's me developing my chisel work a little more with, again, handmade chisels. You see they're not great, but I like to work out of stainless steel because when you serve, core knees generally are for people who work. So it's stainless steel, but one of my things is, right, I was Mr. Hand Finishing, so I could do that. Pretty much you couldn't figure out where it was welded, to make it kind of fun. And then most of that, again, is all handmade chisels. Now, here's what's funny. Have you ever finished a project and you'd be like so proud of it, like next day you get up and look at it?
Yep.
Okay, look right in the very center of that charge. Slightly felt like, oh, oh, but still pretty funny. Again, homemade tools, it came out pretty good. And again, it was for love. It was for people that were, getting a chance to put something beautiful on it.
Oh God, what was I going to ask you? Oh, somebody asked to talk about how you learned to weld.
Oh my God. All right, so I'm kind of old, and I'm from North Long Beach, right? It's kind of like the Compton sort of Long Beach, the LBC and all that. And so early on, like this really bad thing happened in the high school, and I was with two girls at lunch, and all these people were fighting, and I just wanted to get them out of there. Long story short, both sides saw I was a coward, were beating me up a lot, and they sent me to City College somewhere in the 10th grade. So they sent me to this beautiful high school, and so every day at lunch, I kind of left school and went to City College to learn how to weld, and it cost me socially, but I've always had a trade because of it, and so, I pretty much, like I said, I worked in factories my whole life. My first real job in industry was sharpening 300 carbide drill bits a day. I can still sharpen drill bits reasonably by hand because of it. But yeah, I just always loved to weld, and over the years, of course, that's the hard thing about having an armor shop. I got to work a lot of crap away, do a lot of crap away. But so could you imagine my poor neighbors? I just moved into a house. I'm trying to get my shop back together, and we put little notes on their doors with gift cards, and we're like, we're gonna have a crane. I don't think they understood what I was talking about when they were, because there's no way I was going to get these shops in my yard any other way. And so here's this crane with the most weight they could put on it, trying to put this empty thing in the very back of my yard, and it was just what a spectacle, and so I'm doing what every good armor does. I'm sorting my crap right now, trying to get my shop together. I dream of finishing a helmet for Duke Guy in Castle Kirk. He's giving away hundreds of helmets and just loves people so hard. And my first dream after I help a friend with some armor is to make a full gladiator, like as hard as I can do it. So please, let's move on. Thank you.
So with that crane, you actually got shipping containers. Is that what was?
Oh yeah, exactly. ISO containers. I built generators and pumps my whole career, so it's like popcorn to me. If the crane company says they'll do it, do it. If you got to get crane work done, and you're like, I don't know how to do this, man. If they say they'll do it, it's going to be fine. And so they hooked up my containers on this big old crane, and and like people are screaming and shit. I'm like, look, it's okay, it's fine. I'm still trying to make up with my neighbor, but it went pretty good. A lot of people were just in chairs going, what the hell?
Awesome.
Right, but connexes don't burn. I don't, haven't been a professional welder. I don't have to do a fire watch for an hour after I work. All right, let's move on. See, this is more cruciting. So there should be some good pictures of everybody doing this for failing areas as well. And so this is all my bros backing me up. And here's me wearing my purple toga so I traded an acoustic bass to a friend who was my armor teacher and a tailor, and he made me that toga. And the only other time it touched my body was to be oh gosh, I can't come up with it. The Scottish skirt thing.
A kilt?
Or as a kilt once. And then so there was that thing, and I literally carried that toga around for years and years and years. So I got to put it on it, but that's my bros backing me up again. I'm very proud of it. I know there's Grace Deaton, and good. There's Grace Morgan. Oh, right.
Wait, can I ask you a question about the purple? Are you telling me that you had that for years and years and years, just waiting for you to make yourself king so that you could wear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Purple toga.
Okay.
And it's my little dream. Those are Cosmos greaves. Wow, I'm glad to see a picture of those. So, I did some acid etching like Jax's greaves, and it's really funny. So here's me in my backyard with full safety gear, a fan behind me, and pouring air and silver crap. Soft repainted. I wanted it deep. And I figured out that that was crazy, and I probably shouldn't do that anymore. So here's me doing more of my kind of stump represent. What's weird about this is all, I have pitch and everything. And one day I'm going to meet, like Douglas Fire, my ultimate hero. Got to keep meeting people I know. I'm like, we'll go. Anyway, and so this is just me pounding stuff out on a stump with homemade chisels, but it's a Fleur de Soleil with checks in it. And then what's really cool is the one you can see his lady's rose is on the top of it. And I must have repatterned that rose like 20 times and still hated it. And then I have like a combative bear that's with a little, I tried hard to minimalize the schlong on it, but it's correct.
I love the checky on the floor. That's cool.
Yeah, and those are indicative of some of my older greaves with those cuts. Oh, interesting. So here's research on some body armor. I really, again, my bias towards female heroes, even when we go out and start studying, we're seeing a lot of the females are mostly just armored with adaptive of male, not a lot of real tracking. As a matter of fact, I find, I'm going to be all soapbox. Most things I found were sexualized.
Right.
Unless we're getting into, the Amazon stuff. So I had to punt. And here's basically me trying to take this female form, add the Aegis cloak on top of it off the Athena statue, and then rub some Bronze Age fluting into it. And again, a little bit of not the greatest thing to do as a laurel, but I feel very passionate about making armor for people that doesn't slow them down and doesn't hurt them. And like, there's almost nothing, like scale is really great for female, but rigid breastplates have their own beauty. And the very first one we made out of cut and paste, which is again another Randall Coopersmith, my original kind of armor teacher was a tailor. It's a beautiful man, kind of looked like a Dr. Who's. And so that's me trying to develop a sketch into it, and then eventually I'll get it on metal, and then I'm gonna do my best. Like write, that's like a check you write. That's like a check you write, and then you gotta cash it. So I don't know if my ass can cash that, but I'm gonna do my best.
Cool.
I'm gonna try to push all those scales out and all that stuff. We'll see. I'll put it. I don't post a lot. I'll try to put it out there. Oh, and now check that out. That's kind of interesting, right? And so I'm lazy, and so right when you gotta keep repeating scales, you just make a scale ruler, right? Right? People who sew, right? Because I was taught by a tailor. Thank you.
I don't think lazy is the right adjective there.
I think it's called working smart.
Yes.
Right, when you're a nut for details. I mean, it still got a little crazy towards the end. I'm trying not to look at it up on the top of the straps. But yeah, that's me trying to write a check there. We'll see how it comes out. This was my honor to do. So this is, I don't want this to be a platform for stump represent, but this is the kind of stuff I can do because it's like super easy. You can see me even simulating pitch with a piece of leather, but this was a gentleman's arms, and this was the first award for the barony that I came out of. And it's like, you could see kind of the prototype, and then you could see it pushed out there. But, again, I feel like I'm a very kind of still working on it represent person because I don't know how to work in pitch yet. I do, but I don't,
Yeah, I think you use the tools that you're comfortable with, and that's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, you're creating beautiful things.
Yeah, it's kind of off on a teaching tangent, though. I feel a responsibility to kind of bring it around a little bit, right? Like being a good night. Now, this is really special to me, right? Isn't that great? That's not my work. You know what's cool about that? First-time student made that in my shop.
Cool.
I'm so proud. And actually, what's cool is I have a tendency to try to show people the basics. We go over the tools. I try to help them make tools. But so this guy had some armor practice from a different school, like Crimson Guard and stuff from the old school. And he did things with my tools. And I sat there and said, that's how you do it. Right? Like no, that breastplate, no breastplate had been made that well in my shop before. And just because I didn't try to make him do it my way, I feel like he taught me more than I taught him. And all I really did was like, do a little more here, a little more here. Okay, let's draw some stuff on here and visualize. Okay, now the hardest thing for all artists, let's set it down and look back at it from like 10 feet and see what happens, you know. And just, I'm so proud of that first time student, but an armor, a guy who's made some stuff before, but I mean, now I got to see what I can do. I haven't made one that big yet.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, wow. Look at that faceplate. That's awesome.
Right, that was me trying to start squishing my, so I started taking my sports stuff, because right in Arizona, you need ventilation. You just do. And so this is a Mongol helmet, which is a 5-panel Spangen, and the brass dome is on top of a stainless dome, and the dome on the 5-panel is actually completed in the back. Why? Because I didn't know you couldn't just cut a piece of the sheet of brass off and take it closed, so I did it, and then, you know, and then I found out later you can't do that. And you know, it's all kind of fabrication tricks, right? And then we made the stainless ring, but that grill is kind of a milestone for me. So I was kind of famous for, you know, putting something in this space, you know, as well as, you know, when I first started making helmets, people would make a dome, and then they put this grill out over your face, and it's like the first thing that kills you is hitting your grill. So I tried to make something a little more competitive, as well as the vision slot is kind of an interesting story. But it took me 7 months to do that grill right, like 4 times, because it's dished. It's not dished. I made it that way. And then again, you see again, because I tried to be a rock star and couldn't get a good job, you see all my fan finishing work here. And something that's important, you know, you'll see slat backs on my helmet because of Arizona, but it also makes a really well-balanced helmet. I tend to work on 12-gauge stainless domes again. I'm a losing guy. But the vision slot is something, and I know some people are uncomfortable with having this, and I put bars in the middle, but I was listening to Sammy Sosa, you know, and Mark McGuire were doing this home run challenge, and they were talking about training their eye focus. And so if your brain is canceling stuff out, isn't that messing with your timing? So then I went on the quest for a Marshall acceptable vision slot in my helmets. And then, you know, some acid that's cheap, but other people did work on that helmet. Again, I did the main fabrication, but there's a lot of love on that helmet, you know, having my shop open to the world. Thank you for that picture. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, here's some more stump represent. You can see where like the dog has no face and the lions, but this is right when I realized I needed glasses. So again, it's just kind of stump represent. But they were made for some friends' vigil books, right? We never let our friends succeed without help, and those are made for the cover of 2 of my lovely friends' vigil books. And they're pretty deep, but still. Okay, so here's my test, right? Armors just make big clunky shit. And so here's my engraving under 1 inch. And so I made those for a coronet for a lady who honors me to kind of say like I kind of helped her as her laurel, but she did everything herself. Like I'm that guy who shows up and gives people a little push at the top of the hill sometimes, and then they love me for it. But that's me. You can literally, if you saw those close, you could see where I got glasses. That's all basically hand chasing. Those are about 3/4 of an inch around, and it's just me trying to be more delicate. You know, like my knight, you know, Arthur, Sir Duke Arthur is such a great jeweler, and I've always quested to be more delicate and more fine because he was an armorer who still could armor anything he wants. There's the picture. Look at me all long-haired. Look at Duke Morgan up there. And I mean, look at all those mugs right there. You know, there's my man, being king, being papa. You know, so proud to be part of that. Okay, the day I won crown. See, I mean, that's part of my quest. You know, I'm lucky. I walk for a living now, so I'm a little bit skinnier. But there's me on the day. You know, standing with a great man behind me, and you know, I was just waiting to herald my lady in, and luckily I have a good mount and I'm light on my feet and wearing a caterpillar glove, and you know, that's me ready to herald my girl in on the day. It was my honor.
So when you processed into finals, you heralded your lady?
I have my herald did the initial or did the majority of it, but I try to always speak directly for my lady. That's the best of my remembrance.
That's very cool. I love that.
I mean, that's my love, you know. And you should have seen what it was like to be her champion. That dude, gosh, can you say fear boner? That's what he said I caused. Anyways, so this is a really funny ass picture. So this is me trying to do spin technique, and here's Al-Anon trying not to laugh and then like waiting because he probably wanted to hit me in the front. And so this is just me being a knucklehead. You know, like I'll try to do spin shots with blades and all kinds of stuff. And so this is just me being a knucklehead, and that's Al-Anon being patient with me. That's funny because like, you know, there's me.
Are you practicing spin shots with Al-Anon?
No. Let's see how my feet are even crossed. That's me being inspired in the moments in a King's Champion, and it's Al-Anon waiting for me, probably to hit me in the face. Just trust me, that was probably like, hey, I think he's spinning. Oh, look at that. Yeah, here he comes. He's coming around. Oh, yeah, he's spinning. Here we go. But gladiators are supposed to entertain me. That's one thing Jack's always done at home with me, you know, because he's the senior gladiator, is that, you know, you can die, you can fight, you can live, but we put on shows as well. Oh, yeah, baby. You know, what can I say? Oh, that's a fun one right there. So I made coins. I probably did it wrong, but it worked out. And so I made laurel coins to give out to the people, you know. So it's kind of BS, right? I had a vigil, you know. 20 years later, I felt like I had so many new acquaintances and so many new friends, and like some people wanted to talk to me. And so we were at the Francisco Grand, which is actually this big old like 70s hotel in Casa Grande. It was only freaking gorgeous to be there. You know, it's like SDA hotels meet can be fun sometimes. And, you know, and so I made all these coins and gave them out to people as my laurel coins. And I still have enough to be like my laurel tokens as I go along. And it was just one of those nutty things that you're like, I'm going to do this. And I read every book I can figure out. And then I wrote a check that I think I cashed.
They look great.
They do look great. Did you have a vigil for every peerage? Your Pelican, your Knight, and your Laurel?
Oh, no. It wouldn't have been. You know, the only reason I did it again, you know, like I said, obviously it was like 20 years later, I did another vigil. Just kind of, I mean, gosh, somebody hitchhiked from the Outlands to come to my vigil.
Wow.
Like hitchhiked from the Outlands to come to my vigil. So I just wanted to reconnect with people. I wouldn't think it would be appropriate, you know, who wants the me show, but it was more like, you know, so we did that till like, I don't know, whenever we did it a bunch of hours and a bunch of people worked so hard for me. And then I got up the next day and set up down in the lawn where the fighting was going to go and tried to do it for a couple more hours because a bunch of people couldn't be there the night before. And it was just, I don't know, I hope it wasn't an ego trip, but it was fun. I mean, I got a lot of love and I gave a lot of love.
That's super cool. Is this a super young you?
Right, so there's me with my baronial champion sword, probably just barely with my lion on, and that's just me kind of, you know, proudly standing court. You know, it's just something, you know, we do, you know, especially a steward, you know, you're kind of a little bit of the auxiliary to the show. I wish I, you know, could really know when this was, but I'm assuming more than likely there wasn't, you know, because like when the steward, right, it's funny. So in my little steward book, everybody wants to work when court's going on. That's when I get a break, right? I'm gonna go have a sandwich. I'm gonna take my chill when court's going on. But when there's nobody there, you know, and so I don't know. I mean, that's all, you know, armchair quarterback. But yeah, that's me all long haired. And, you know, later I met a beautiful lady with 3 beautiful kids and cut my hair off and got a better job. And who knows, it worked just like they said, and they all had a chance for college. And I'm a proud ass Maddie.
Nice.
Okay, we saw those already. Oh, I love this. It's pretty.
Oh, you don't like it?
No, I do. It was I barely was able to cash. So I drafted the pattern for that. So, you know, like me and Zipser, you know, His Royal Highness, you know, we've done a lot of art time together. And so, you know, I'm trying to steer away and get a little more pitch. But here's my bro who'd be like, you know, so he came to me and he wanted to make a medallion. And you know me, you know why. She's so beautiful. And so anyways, I drafted this pattern and I was so in love with the pattern that I just ran right into metal. I put it on a big old board and screwed it down with screws and had my pattern on it. and I did my first push out on it, and I was like, okay, I took a break, and I came back, and I was like, shit, I don't know where I was at. So let me drive this chisel around it to make sure everything's nice and deep, and I blew it up, and I destroyed so many features on it, and then I proceeded to think, I don't want to say it that way, so I'm off work because I'm a union guy, and so I spent the next 48 hours, but 48 hours over the next week with like jeweler's lenses on, representing over my head because I got a neck problem, and I was managed to chase most of the problems out of that. So I just love it. It's like saying, you know, one of the beautiful things, you know, it's hard about material that, you know, metal gives you back is the conversation's only over, you know, when you have a temper tantrum generally. And so, like I said, what a great battle. And then again, a beautiful gift for a friend, and he loves it. And I did it as hard of a way as possible, and I tried to talk about that like this. I was trying to move away from stuff. Oh yeah, again, another beautiful lady, a court variety. There's some of my smaller chasing, I guess you could call it chasing, and I'm sorry for the people who actually know how to do representing chasing. It's just the best I can do. You know, so again, it's a court variety for a beautiful lady, and it's going to turn into a band thing before too long because she's going to step down as a landed baroness. And I get to help her and make her smile. Oh yeah, see? So a friend of a friend from a different kingdom let us know through our contact of friends that a friend might be stepping down without help. And we got together and we made some cornets for those people, and they stepped down with me. It was freaking close, and I made new friends.
Very cool.
Okay, so you can see my illusion armory thing. So one of the things when I'm chasing history, right, is one of the rightfully things is, you know, again, I was always trying to charge the grills, you know. I mean, gosh, I mean, there's a Duke Phelan helmet, Duke Eric von Strahd with the Scorpion, and then Duke Deaton of Claymore, which was one of my first like armature grills. And I wanted to put a picture there, you know, and now like the laser cut grills, I feel like they are the most medieval thing I've seen, like new stuff, Acer Arms and other armors are doing those beautiful lasers. They're just so perfect. I mean, I think this is as far as you can take, you know, grill work. But the funniest thing is you'll notice is Arius's helmet right there with the horseshoe, you notice it's kind of blue. It's because it's steel. I mean, he cared so much about that helmet that he never let it get dull. You know, and then the Scorpion one in the middle, I did crazy on that. I was like, I'm going to take it to the next level. So I cut a line with a chisel all the way through the whole Scorpion and then melted brass rod into it and hand finished it off. So it has a brass line in the Scorpion. You can barely see it. Not very field heraldry. And just, you know, that's my thing. And then my boys helmet, you know, I really tried to put all my arts together and then you know, and then I say this with so much respect as possible. I have so many fabric working friends that I wanted my details to be as cool as theirs. I mean, the way they, you know, every single inch of those. I once made an enemy as a judge because they had a big hand finishing mark in the middle, and I just feel like there was no nice way to say you had a rip in the front of your dress. Okay, thank you. You know, oh, there's me as King. See, I'm all huge there. There's me and my girl laughing. You know, that's what we love to do. I don't know what else to say.
Even better.
You know, we're probably saying something crude or talking poop or, you know, because the world is ironic and funny. Too much Sherlock Holmes and too much Monty Python. So there's Jax's green, his incredible helmet.
That's got to be stuff.
I made Loki's first, but those were as deep as I think I could acid etch aluminum and live. And I don't think I'll ever do that again unless I get smarter like a chemical hood. See, there's the first pair. And gosh, you just re-enamel them and acid etch them, and you know, you can see how things, but again, you know, I'm just trying to make things as royal as possible, even though it's all mundane materials, a greave that never existed, things to a kneecap that never existed. The little ankle things aren't period, but you take them off, they don't work right. You know, just a lot of funny coincidences coming together. But again, you know, crazy ass backyard experiments. Okay.
Wow.
I'm hoping to surpass this for Guy. It's all 12 gauge stainless, right? So it's a stainless finisher. it was my first attempt, Duke Arthur O'Flaherty helped me do some casting for the medallions. Everything else is kind of, you can see it's some more of my kind of stump represent. But if I could have finished that, it would have had a griffin on the top and been a full Thracian. Now, here's the funny story about that, and I don't mean to complain, but it was the last commission I ever took because he kept wanting the brims bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was like, how you doing it? And he just kept saying it was okay. And it was like, you know what, commissions are hard. And it was like, it felt like the minute I handed this guy money, I was a servant instead of an artist. And I loved what I built, but it was kind of like broke me on commissions. And after that point, I don't think I've ever sold a helmet. I've given every single one of my voice. But I'm still proud.
I totally get that.
Yeah, you can see the brims reinforced and everything. I mean, you could get that. I was like, oh my God. I think you could also hang it on your front porch and summon your kids from a 5-mile radius. Oh.
This wasn't for SCA fighting though, was it?
Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
I don't think he ever fought though. He was like a little, yeah, I don't know that. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. We'll move on.
So right, so you get your crown photos, and you're like, I'm waiting for all my movies, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to watch me. And then you look at this picture, you're like, dude, how did you win crown with your shield that high in the air? I think this is me, right? So one of the most beautiful things that ever happened to me is I got to finish my last crown with the only squire that got knighted and somebody that I just love. And we went out there, and neither of us were taking or giving an inch. And, like I think I've been quoted on this about gatekeepers, and gatekeepers are to me, if you don't show up on the day to beat the Dukes, you ain't supposed to be. That's what gatekeeper means. You have to rise to the moment. You know what I'm saying? And you have to be that sure of yourself. So here's me facing somebody I love, giving me no quarter. And then finally, something right in his face. But yeah, that's me winning crown. Thank you. That's a nice picture of that man.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're back at the beginning.
Yep. So now we're back at the beginning. So Merrick has asked a really great question, and it's not an easy one to answer. So if you don't want to, that's fine.
Stop sharing the screen.
Oh, okay. Sorry. There.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay. So Merrick says, you are a hero, no doubt. Do you ever feel the weight of how people view you, and how do you rationalize that worship and stay so honorably humble?
I'd like to see there's like a big ceremony, but again, it's just kind of how I'm lucky. I was just kind of wired that way. Like it's not that nothing's ever good enough for me. It's just like, I never like look back and say like, yeah, you did enough, because it's like, it's really the things that are over, and it's things in front of me are the new memories. And, people like him humble me for that because, he's a very composed person. And, I think I was just wired, I've helped a lot of people. It's like hard when you're trying to help somebody learn pure like composure when you were born with it in a way. I learned to beat up on myself as a kid as a survival method because then you got in trouble with us, right? And so I don't know how to go much farther other than like my cup is always empty to me. It was part of getting back on Facebook is, I just felt like, like a lot of people, I wasn't in contact with what my heroin, God, that's not a thing. I wasn't in contact with the thing that helped me be my best self. And so I think I was kind of a little bit emptied out when you guys, when, Orion and Mako and Seamstress, and, you guys helped me believe that maybe I did have an opinion. I kind of really put myself out on Facebook for all super uncomfortable. And now I'm starting to get some great friends, and it's like magical for me, And so I guess the thing is my cup's kind of always empty to me. I just see myself as a guy who loves really shitty jokes. I like to hang out with my friends. And so I don't think it's that I stay humble. It's just, I wish I had more ego. I think I could do some things better if I had more ego, And then plus, one of the side effects of getting hit in the head for a while is, an excess of empathy.
I think like you're one of those people that doesn't internalize any of that. Like you have your own standards for yourself, and you don't internalize other people's view of you, I guess. That's what my impression is from talking to you. And it keeps you very humble.
Thanks, unless I hurt your feelings. I mean, that's something like, it's something that really matters to me because it's clumsy. You know, running around with an emotional club isn't how I want to live life, you know? I was the little kid, again, probably why I'm good at DSCA and why I can stay humble, try to keep it, is that like, I was a little kid who didn't want to split up into good guys and bad guys. I wanted just to all be good guys and pretend they were bad guys. And so this is always easy for me, except when I have to compete.
I think that's actually pretty profound because it's because everybody can shine, right? Like there doesn't have to be a good guy and a bad guy. There's like enough for everyone. I think that's pretty profound.
Oh, a lot of bad guys are catalysts, right? I mean, every kingdom has their guy. They look at it, other kingdoms, like, oh, that was a bad guy. But like all those people were catalysts that made things happen. And we all know, it's like being a knight and dispensing justice. One man's justice is another man's travesty. It's all point of view. But we need those catalyst people to help us, those rivalries. I grew up in the time of the big households, and we're a little lesser for not having those monster households. We need the catalyst.
Yeah,
whatever your point of view is.
Yeah, we don't have households like that here at all. And I don't think, in the time we've played, we've never had them.
Yeah, not really. I mean, we have a couple, but the thing that I love about the interplay with Atenville and the Outlands and all that is you guys have these huge households that cross kingdoms, and there's just such this community and brotherhood there that I think we, because we're isolated by ourselves and the closest kingdom is not very close. We share borders, of course, but the population centers are not close at all. We don't have anything like that. It's pretty special what you guys have down there.
We have a little taste of it with Ontario West War, but it's not a constant, ongoing, anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
It's like the thing on Ontario West Ontario, depending on where you live.
Yeah.
Catalyst. Anyways, I agree, but let me put something else out. Let me be just a tad serious. I'm going to diatribe for a second. Coming out of this, one of the things that I think hurt us with big households and private practices is our baronies got disempowered. And one thing that I firmly believe in is that strong baronies is a strong society, and that's, all these peers are like, nobody's approaching me. How often you go to fighter practice? Are you where the tire meets the road? And I would just like to say for myself, what I'm pledging is I want to go try to play as hard and as much as I can in my barony. And I just feel like, if you're a peer and you've been so busy playing at that kingdom level, maybe you should go find your barony or your principality or your college and just don't see if that shit don't get magic again, even if you're not attracting students, a great knight, always a great peer has a pool around them, but you get to go be part of that pool on the baronial level, and people are going to be, you're going to make lifetime friends that are going to pay off for you.
I think that's a really good point.
It is a good point. I'm totally guilty of playing on a kingdom level.
It's like a freeway.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to get off.
Yeah.
Right? Like watching your local war, Australia. I've watched Australia gobble up and spit out so many people that could have helped our kingdom and been better. Big wars are hard for kingdoms, right? I've seen so many great servants get bit up and spit out by wars, and they never even played the game. So that was a weird side note.
Oh, it made sense to me. Yeah.
Me too.
What were you going to say, Rifkin?
I have nothing.
Okay. So we're at about 2 hours.
Yeah, we're probably.
I know. It goes by fast. Is there anything that you wanted to cover that you haven't covered?
did I say how grateful I am to hang out with you guys? And you're like, you know, part of this is like being friends with you all, and I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna hug you.
Okay.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'm humbled to be here. I'm thankful for all the people that I'm talking to, and just, you know, thanks for bringing the dream back for people. I mean, this is so important, you know, and just everybody be ready for changes. You know, things are fluid. The hardest thing for humans is change. You build a city, you expect it to stay there, but that's not what the earth is telling us. It's the same thing with our lives, you know. We have to be ready for change. You know, the things that like people, like I would really wish some more people have, you know, and there's people in my life that like me saying my generation makes me feel like I'm being silly. But I just want to encourage everybody out there to get on their Facebook, compose something nice to say, and see if it don't change how your loneliness is feeling right now. You know, that's, I don't know what else to say other than just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Maybe thank you.
And thank you.
Yeah, thank you for putting out such a positive, I don't want to use the word role model, but I guess I will. Just such a positive example of what a peer, triple, quadruple, I guess you're a quadruple peer, can be. You know, you are so generous and so kind. You're just such a great example.
Thanks. You know, like I said, I think I was lucky. I was wired for this. I really hope, gosh, I tried. Oh, my card. Let's look for the people who ain't wired to be good at this easy. You know, I mean, those are the people I love to love. You know, I was lucky. I was ready for this. Not everybody is, you know, and nothing is good here unless we look inside ourselves and change something and be more. And I mean, you've seen all the pictures of me, how much I've changed over the years. And just it's all because of this game and these beautiful people. So I guess that's my hallmark card. I could keep squeezing them out, I think.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us. This has been a treat. And I am going to look for you at the next Inner Kingdom War I go to, and
yeah,
we'll fight and then have a hug.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Next week, we're going to talk to Sir Valora, who I don't know all that well, but I really, really respect her fighting and her art and her service. I mean, she's like the whole meal in a bag of chips. So she is. So I'm looking forward to talking to her too. Yeah. So join us next week. Bye-bye.
Right.